Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast Cuss Out Sessions. I'm one half of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, Machel St. Patrick Hewitt, and it's been so long since I've done one of these. We've been putting out so much different content, myself and Santoki, that I'd actually almost forgotten that I even did this Cuss Out series, but better late than never. And what's the Cuss Out topic? It's the West Indies ODI side. Ladies and gents, walk with me.
We rule the cricket world. Now the rules seem coming.
Welcome to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things West Indies cricket. By the fans, for the fans. Well. The West Indies ODI side. Where do we go from here? Another ODI series defeat. Not unexpected. There cannot be any West Indian fan who did not expect us to lose 3-0 versus India. Remember, though, as much as people try to frame these things as a series defeat, in the current kind of paradigm that we're in, what matters more is about how many points you pick up rather than you lose the series. If we'd lost that series 2-1, that's acceptable because we would have picked up 10 Super League points. So forget the fact it was a series defeat. We lost 3-0. And the important thing is that we won no games. Therefore, we picked up 0 points. Let me share my screen first and foremost, because I think what we need to look at first and foremost, if I just share this for you lot, is if we just look here, you should all be seeing my screen right now. As at current, the West Indies are in 8th place in the race for the qualification for the 2023 Cricket World Cup. Look at who's from 9th to 13th. Pakistan are going to end in the top 8. South Africa are going to end in the top 8. And New Zealand will definitely end in the top 8. So what you need to pay attention to is which 3 teams currently in the top 8 will come out. Look at the points table. That would be us, probably Sri Lanka, and probably Ireland would come out. So as things currently stand, we are likely to have to enter the World Cup qualifiers to try and get to the 2023 World Cup. And I'll call it as I see it, because it's important that we don't try and rewrite history and try to say that things are better when they're not or worse when they're not. 2019, 4 years ago, or for the last World Cup, we had to qualify for the World Cup. Shouldn't have qualified. The rain and some umpire teething made sure that we got there. And it's looking like 4 years later, nothing's going to improve in the context with regards to the fact that we'll probably have to end up qualifying as well. Worryingly, the last 3 ODI series we've played, that's India, Ireland, and Australia, we have looked woeful in our ODI cricket. And that's what this cuss out's really about, trying to understand what is going on. As you can see from our record, we've played 15 ODIs so far in this ODI series. And for those who don't know, that's the 3-0 defeat in Bangladesh when we took a C team. Remember, lots of players pulled out due to COVID. We took a C team and lost that comfortably. In fact, comfortably is the wrong word. We were embarrassed there, 3-0. Beat Sri Lanka 3-0. Lost to Australia 2-1. Lost to Ireland 2-1. And lost to India 3-0. Hence where you've got the 5 wins and the 10 losses. If I just scroll up on my screen, actually, in terms of who we've got left to play. So I don't know if you can really see it on this screen. We still got to play New Zealand at home. We don't know when that's going to be fit, where that's going to fit in at this moment in time. We travel to the Netherlands. Those dates are yet to be properly confirmed, but we believe that to be the end of May, start of June. And obviously, we're going to be going to Pakistan in June as well. So we've got the Netherlands, Pakistan, Netherlands away, Pakistan away, and New Zealand at home somehow to fit in. That series may never take place. Who knows? Because we may not have time in the calendar to fit it in. The chances are, from those remaining 9 games, we're going to pick up at best 5 wins. And I would argue that that's unlikely to be enough to get us into the top 8. Really and truly, it's between us, Afghanistan, Sri Lanka and Ireland to probably try and sneak that 8th place position. it's looking very, very unlikely for the West Indies team. But I mean, let's get away from that, and I'll stop sharing that screen and go back to this. Let's get away from that and actually focus on, well, what's going on? There's a lot of cussing up, as ever. There's a lot of cussing going on in the region with regards to the ODI team. And if you went on fans' forums, if you read articles within the media, my postulation is that everybody wants to try and narrow the kind of flopping that's going on with the ODI team down to what, 3 people. Phil Simmons, the head coach, Kieron Pollard, the captain, and Darren Bravo, the batsman. Every time you see us lose an ODI game, those are the 3 names you see mentioned more than anybody else. And actually, I'll throw in Monty Desai because he's the batting coach. So maybe those are the 4 names you see mentioned more than anybody else. And I've been at pains to try and point out on our Twitter feed. Remember, the Twitter feed, sometimes I tweet, sometimes it's Santoki, but this particular point is me. I've been at pains to try and point out on the Twitter feed that it's deeper than that. If you try and narrow down our poor performances versus Australia, Ireland, and India down to it's this one person's fault or it's just these 2 people, actually, I'm not sure you're studying properly. I'm really not sure. I'm not sure you're fully understanding the weaknesses that are going on. And that, you know what I do with these cuss out sessions. I try to extrapolate, I try to deep dive, and I try to unpick what's actually going on. We lost 2-1 to Australia, 2-1 to Ireland, both at home, and 3-0 to India away, right? Arguably, the 2-1 to Australia, granted, some would say that was an Australian B team, wasn't... I don't want to say it wasn't a disappointment. It was. We lost. But at least we picked up 10 points. The Ireland was awful. No one expects us to lose that 2-1. We only picked up 10 points versus Ireland. At worst, you would have thought we'd pick up 20. And like I say, India 3-0, I expected no points. So that just kind of is what it is. But the one undercurrent theme for those 3 series defeats is that our top 6 have been unable to bat. And when I say unable to bat, I don't just mean consistently. So sometimes batting well and sometimes not. They have consistently been unable to bat. There's nowhere else to look at where the problems lie other than with our batting. The bowling, generally speaking, has held up. And I might talk briefly about the bowling, but generally speaking, the bowling has held up. And certainly in these last 3 matches we played versus India, if you can limit India away to 235 runs or whatever it was, 240 and 260, and you're still getting beat really badly, that's nothing to do with the bowling. We would have bitten, if we knew beforehand, we would have bitten that someone's hand off. If they said, I'll give you India only making 250 at home to try and win an ODI, and you only need 250 plus to win an ODI, all of us would have taken that. So let's not look at the bowling. Let's not try and say there's this issue with the bowling or that issue with the bowling. The bowlers did their job. Since Australia at home, our batsmen have continually not shown up. But if you want to take it a bit further, you could argue that for the last 6 months is it 6 months or is it more? Probably more now, 7-8 months. You could argue that for the last 7 months in general, across all formats, our batting just hasn't shown up. Think about it. We played South Africa in June in the test. Batting didn't show up. Showed up a bit in some of the T20s. So in fairness, it's not that straightforward. Australia in the ODIs, batting didn't really show up. Pakistan in the test series, batting really didn't show up. What was after that? World Cup, batting didn't show up. Pakistan away, post-World Cup, you could say the batting showed up in fairness. Ireland at home, batting didn't show up. India away, batting didn't show up. So this has been going on now for about 6 to 7 or 8 months of the top 6 batting across formats not showing up on a consistent basis. So this is why individual players can be highlighted and criticized, and I'm going to do that. But if you think this problem can just be narrowed down to it's the head coach's problem, it's the batting coach's problem, it's Kieron Pollard's problem, It's Darren Bravo's problem. I picked those 4 because they're the 4 most common names I hear. If you think this can all be narrowed down to just identifying one person, say you take the blame, I don't think you fully understand. Should there be accountability? Yes. But that's a different question. Because, okay, let me just devil's advocate. Let's say you say, Phil Simmons, it's your fault. You're the head coach. You take accountability, fall on your sword and leave. Let's just hypothetically argue that. Do you mean to tell me that this problem can be rectified simply by bringing in another coach? Do you mean to tell me that 8 months of the team not being able to bat can be rectified by just bringing in one new man? I would argue that that's silly. Not silly in terms of bringing in a new guy. I'm saying that's silly. It's infantile to believe that this problem can be rectified with just one man becoming coach. 8 months of the team not being able to bat, and you think one man alone can fix it. It speaks to a systemic or endemic, whichever word you want to use, problem across the region. Pollard spoke about it after Ireland, and some people in the media wanted to use that as an excuse to say Pollard's is a dereliction of duty from Pollard. He needs to look at his own batting. How dare he say that? But when you look at the raw numbers, he's right. The batting ain't stacking up across formats. This is a deeper problem. But let's just focus on ODIs because this video is about the West Indies ODIs. Or the ODI team, men's ODI team, I hasten to add. So what I did was, for the last 3 series, I went and pulled the data of our top 6 to see who's the problem. Lo and behold, everyone's the problem. Versus Australia, get a pen and paper down. Get a pen and paper down, because as I do this, I want to make sure that you are paying full attention. So get a pen and paper down and write down these notes so that if you think I'm wrong, remember, comments below, send in a comment after you've watched this video. If you disagree with something, you know that we'll always reply on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, whatever it might be. Hit that subscribe button as well. Hit that like button. Always forget to do that. But get pen and paper down. Versus Australia, these were the averages across the 3 games. Nicholas Pooran, 31. That was the top average across the 3 games for West Indies, 150. Evan Lewis, 28. Shai Hope, 26. Kieron Pollard, 23, 150. Jason Holder, I'm counting him as being part of the top 6, even though he probably bat 7, 19, 150. Hetmeyer, 9. Bravo, 7. Jason Mohammed, 7. It doesn't matter who you're playing. That could be UAE, that could be PNG, that could be Scotland, that could be Netherlands, that could be Ireland, that could be Afghanistan. If that's your batting averages after 3 games, I don't care who you're playing, you ain't winning many matches. It's a surprise we even won 1 with those batting averages. And I hasten to add, note when I gave you those, that's with Lewis and Hetmeyer in the team. Because a lot of people have tried to say, oh, the reason why we're struggling versus Ireland and India is because Lewis and Hetmeyer aren't there. But that was the data versus Australia with Lewis and Hetmeyer in the team. So then we went on to play Ireland. 2-1 defeat. These were the averages. Get your pen and paper down. Shamar Brooks, 46, 150. Remember, these are across 3 games. Shai Hope, 33, 150. Pollard, 24, 150. Holder, 20. Chase, 11. Graves, 10. Pooran, 5. Brackets, Odean Smith, 42. Romario Shepherd, 22. But they bat lower down the order, and that's a different point to talk about. But that's just in brackets. India, 3 games. Ah, boy. Jason Holder, 22, 150. Pooran, 20. Brooks, 19. King, 15. Hope, 13. Bravo, 13. Fabian Allen, if you want to count him, 14. People, across 3 matches, which for most players there is, across 3 series, which for most players there was probably 9 matches. Only 1 player, 2, sorry. Only 2, sorry, only 3 players managed to average over 30. Pooran averaged 31 versus Australia. Brooks averaged 46 versus Ireland, and Hope averaged 33 versus Ireland. That's it. That's it. Pollard got 250s. Holder got 250s. Hope got one. Brooks got one. That's it. That's your top 6/7 failing to produce consistently. Now, my thing is this. Lots of people have said get rid of Darren Bravo. Okay, Bravo didn't even play versus Ireland. Averaged 7 versus Australia. Averaged 13 versus India. And you know what? I'm saying, you know what, Brav? That's 6 games you played across versus Australia and India. Not good enough. Fine. I'm fine with the argument that Darren Bravo should be dropped for our next ODI series, which would probably be the Netherlands. Got no issue with that argument. But my thing is this. Let's call fair. If you're going to drop Bravo, there's a whole heap of man you have to drop as well. Because everyone's out of form. The whole batting unit is out of form. We can't win matches if all of the top 6 are out of form. So stop trying to tweet us or tell me or write in a newspaper article or write online, this is a joke thing. It's a Trini cabal and Bravo needs to go, which he does. And Bravo needs to go because that's the problem. But even if Bravo went, you still got 5 other men who aren't batting properly. So tell me then. Let's say Bravo goes, cool, I can call a name for you, Hetmeyer. But you see the last time Hetmeyer played, he averaged 9 versus Australia. You see, if King goes as an opener, you bring in Lewis. The last time he played, he averaged 28 versus Australia. Right about now, it don't matter which names you call to me, no one's producing. Right now, there is an argument to say that we could drop every single player in the top 7 based on form because no one is producing with the bat. And check this. We ain't got any domestic cricket going on to even call anyone. The last time we played list day cricket in the Caribbean was February 2021. That was the Super 50. We've not played any other list day cricket for a year. So who you calling? Who you calling? And if you're calling names, it's likely to have to come from the 2020 scene or from the test team. And the same reason why people are cussing about people not being able to bat for a long time and bat situations, it's the same players from the 2020 side as well. So what's the solution? We can drop a bag of man. Who we call him? Who we really calling? Nicholas Pooran. Let's go one by one. Pooran's averages across the last 3 series. 31 versus Australia, 5 versus Ireland, 20 versus India. 9 games. 9 games, that's his averages, yeah? 31 of 5 and a 20. Look, Pooran's my guy, but surely that's dropping criteria, right? Let's take Hope, who's supposed to be our best batsman. 26 average versus Australia, 33 versus Ireland, 13 versus India. 9 games. Isn't that dropping criteria right there? Wouldn't you drop someone for that? Let's take Pollard. 23 versus Australia, 24 versus Ireland, basically didn't play versus India. Isn't that stats you'd drop someone for? And the joke with Pollard is he's got the most 50s in that time. But enough of you want him dropped. Let's look at Holder. 19 versus Australia, 20 versus Ireland, 22 versus India. Isn't that stats you'd drop someone for? Shall I continue? People who've come in to have a go. Graves, 10 versus Ireland. Chase, 11 versus Ireland. Dropped. They got all 3 games. That's the best they could come up with their averages. Dropped. Brooks came in for Ireland, averaged 46. Went to India, averaged 19. And I guess we just have to keep him because what are we going to do? The point is this, people. There is a wider spread, a deeper problem with the batting in the region. It goes back as far as that South Africa test when Nortje, Rabada, Ngidi and co just ran through us. Then Pakistan came, ran through us with the ball. T20 World Cup, couldn't bat with the golden oldies. We couldn't bat either. There is a deeper issue going on. The last time we batted well in the ODIs was when we played Sri Lanka. February last year, Sri Lanka came to the Caribbean and we won that series 3-0, right? And picked up 30 Super League points. In that series, Shea Hope averaged 86, 1 century, 250s. Darren Bravo averaged 75, 1 century. Kieron Pollard averaged 68, 150. Evan Lewis averaged 60, 100 and 150. Puran averaged 50. Now, I've just given you 5 batsmen there. Why do you think we won that series? I'll tell you. The top 6 set it up. If your top 6 shows up, or your top order, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, show up, you're likely to win matches. What has been the consistent for Australia, India, and Ireland? They're not shown up, so we've lost. So what I put out to all the fans watching this and followers of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, or if you're just a West Indies fan and you somehow happened across this particular stream, what's the solution? Because your solution can't be just drop Darren Bravo. What's that fixing exactly? And man's to hold a drop. I'll say it again, man is to hold a drop. But what do you think that's going to fix? You bring in the next man, Hetmeyer probably. What is it going to fix? Do you see consistency going on? Because I don't see it. Okay, we go to the next argument. Drop Phil Simmons, bring in the next coach. Well, he can't drop him because Phil's contract goes to 2023 anyway. So you're asking for Phil Simmons to resign. A next coach comes in, but none of them are batting properly. So what's he going to do? Phil Simmons in the last press conference that I was listening to, I think it was on Friday, he said, the problem is that these players aren't batting the situation. He says, I don't doubt their ability. What he doubts is their mental approach to the game. They'll get into... so when we had India, like what we bowled them out for like 240. You only have to chase 240 versus India. Okay, granted away from home. Granted we can't play spin, which is another issue to talk about. Surely the situation demands don't try to go out attacking. Just slowly work your way in. You don't need to play any gung-ho shots. Slow play the situation. And Phil was saying that our batsmen don't play the situation. He says he doesn't mind people getting out with poor execution if they're at least applying themselves to the situation that they're in. But if you don't apply yourself to the situation and then you also get out due to poor execution, that's unforgivable. And too many of our top 6 aren't applying themselves. Too many are out of form. Which is why I don't think you can narrow this down to just one player here or one man there. We as a team, West Indies now I'm talking about, we are not... Here's a harsh, cold reality for people to take on board. We are not strong enough as a team to carry 3 or 4 players to win a match. We're not. Remember, we're weak, you know. We're a weak side. We barely qualified for 2019 ODI World Cup. And then when we got there, we basically lost all the matches. We won 2 matches and lost the other 7 or whatever it was. We are not strong enough. And sorry, remember, between 2015 and 2019, we won 0 ODI series as well. So this ODI problem has been going on for time. We are not strong enough as an ODI team to have so many players out of form. Shea Hope's supposed to be our gunman in the ODI team. He's out of form. Evan Lewis, COVID, injuries, not even about. Last time he was seen, he wasn't clicking. Hetmeyer, fitness, doesn't pass fitness tests. Last time he was seen, it wasn't clicking. That's already 3 players too many to be carrying. We can't afford to have so many players not in nick. And basically, our whole top 6 is not in nick. So if you call for one man to go, you might as well call for all 6 to go. But nobody in West Indies cricket, no one can call me 6 names out of domestic cricket that could easily come in. So what we're then stuck with is we basically have to keep the large majority of them and hope something changes. That's what we're stuck with. That's the reality. We're stuck with them. Because call me some names. I'll pause right now, and I want all of you right now, without even going to look for numbers, call me 6 random names who could come in. I'll call 2, Hetmeyer and Lewis. Now call me 4 other names that could easily come in and replace these guys. Don't worry, I'll wait. We can't call no one. We can't. We don't have we ain't even got no cricket to call on. First class round 1 of the first class season has just ended, and already in that round 1, I've seen some foolishness with the bat. A few good performances here and there, but I've also seen some levels of foolishness with the bat. Our domestic scene is weak. We rely on a core group of players at the international scene, and they're all struggling. What I will criticize, I don't know who's responsible, selectors, Phil, whoever, is we bought Nkrumah Bonner to India, man played no matches. I would have thought that you would have given Nkrumah Bonner a game if you're going to take him all that way to India. But again, would that have made a large difference? Probably not. But when Desmond Haynes selected the squad, they made this whole hoo-ha about, yeah, we want to expand the pool, and we don't want to pigeonhole someone as just a test player or just as an ODI player and this, that, and the other. So they brought Bonner along. But there were some other players, if you're going to make that argument, there were some other players who were missing, who you could maybe have given a go, a Carl Mayers, a Rovman Powell, etc. I'm surprised that those names are missing. But even then, would it have made a difference? Mayers went to Bangladesh with that C team, struggled. Powell, however, went to Bangladesh and did all right, has never got a look in since. Doesn't make a lot of sense. So don't get me wrong, there are a few names here and there, but do you think it would have made a big difference to the top 6 in the grand scheme of things? I say no, because too many players are currently out of form. And there's not an easy way around it when you're trying to carry so many players. So what I've done is, as I'm looking down, because I'm looking down at my notes, on the basis that there aren't really a lot of wholesale changes that we can make, what I've done is I've looked ahead to when we next play, which would be the Netherlands. And obviously with IPL going on, I don't even know who's available. But let's just say, argument's sake, everyone was available and that Netherlands series goes ahead. This arguably is the best side that we've got, right? Evan Lewis comes back in and he opens with Shea Hope. I don't think many people would disagree with that. Okay. Hetmeyer would replace Bravo and come in at number 3. I don't think many people would disagree with that. Brooks, because he came back versus Ireland and averaged 46 in that series, granted he flopped versus India, he more than likely keeps his place. So him and Hetmeyer could be interchangeable, but Brooks is there as well as number 4 or number 3. Pooran apparently is now the vice captain. That's another argument for another day. Keeps his place, even though his form is actually dreadful. He keeps his place because you're not dropping Pooran. Pollard is the captain. He keeps his place because he's the captain. So your top 6 looks like Lewis Hope, Brooks, Hetmeyer, Pooran, Pollard. Holder is a lock-in at 7. That's your top 7. Let me just stop there. That's your top 7. Is there anybody in that top 7 that you lot would drop? I'll say it again. Lewis, Hope, Brooks, Hetmeyer, Pooran, Pollard, Holder. And before anyone comes with drop Pollard. He's the captain, so stop all that foolishness. He's not going nowhere. He's the captain, so stop that. Just stop all the childish foolishness. And also, as much as Pooran's out of form, he's the vice captain apparently, so he's going nowhere as well. Is there anyone in that top 7 who you would drop? The answer's no. The actual answer's no. But then remember that no one in that top 7 is in form with the bat. No one. Not one of that top 7 is in form with the bat. So what do we do? The first question I asked you was, who would you drop? I know that 92% of you listening to this will go, well, no one. That's there. That top 7 writes itself. But then when I tell you that none of them are in form with the bat, what do you do then? How does an international team win any matches in ODIs when none of their top 7 is in form? None of them, not one of them is in form. I've dropped the scapegoat. I've dropped Bravo. So you can't even come with the Bravo argument. I've dropped him. So now what? And we got no Super 50 going on. So what are we going to do? Of course, lots of you will now say, and I mentioned them earlier, Odean Smith, Romario, Shepherd. So just to fill out the rest of the team, I've got Fabian probably at 8. There's a question mark about that, but he's coming back from injury. So I've got Fabian at 8, Oldine at 9, Alzari at 10. Oh, sorry, the batting order could be changed around. Sorry, maybe Akil at 10 and Alzari at 11. I don't have Kemar Roach about. I probably got Kemar Roach out on my side. I know they've tried with that experiment, but I probably got him out on my side. I don't think many people would have a disagreement with that side. Let me read that 11 again. Lewis, Hope, Hetmeyer, Brooks, Puram, Pollard, Holder, Fabian, Oldine, Alzari, and Akil Hussain. I reckon that now I'm going to bring down the percentage. I reckon 90% of you listening to this would say, yeah, that's our strongest side. I think 90% of you are nodding your head going, actually, yeah, that's probably our strongest ODI side. Maybe a Walsh Jr. in for Fabian or a Walsh Jr. in for Hussain, depending on what's going on. Is there maybe a Romario in for someone, depending on what's going on? But arguably, everyone would agree that's probably our top 11 right now. Yeah? You're nodding? I think everyone's nodding. Now let me tell you something. None of the batsmen can bat. None of the batsmen can bat. So what do we do now? I'll tell you what we do. We grin and we bear it and we hope, literally hope, that someone or some of them in that top 6 or 7 find some form and quickly. We can get rid of Bravo. We can cuss out the captain. We can cuss out Phil. We can cuss out Monty. But when you strip it all away and when you consider what our batting is like in the region, just go back and look at the first class games. And when you consider what's going on in the region and who we've got available, do we really have any other options? My name's Machel St. Patrick Hewitt. I'm one half of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. You don't have to agree with what I've said. In fact, I think a lot of you might disagree with the majority of what I've said. But what you should do after you've watched this, apart from share it with people, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and get in the comments below and tell me what you think. What are we going to do with the West Indies ODI side? Because, boy, other than the Lord God himself, we're in the wilderness. Thank you and good night.
We rule the cricket world. Now the rule seems coming.
Welcome to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things West Indies cricket. By the fans, for the fans.